If you love what you're listening to here, you are going to love our 21-day magical self-care challenge. This is more than just a challenge. It is a community, and it includes our magical self-care course and 2 PDF books, the Magical Self-Care book and the Born Magic book. Both bestsellers on their release date on Amazon, and we can't wait to get them into your hands. Join us for the 21-day magical self-care challenge. And by the end of the class, you are going to have some new magical tools in your tool belt, and you are also going to feel supported, and you're going to have the steps to easily and efficiently bring self-care into your life as the foundation of your life, so you don't have to seek it out every day, because your whole life will be built on magical self-care. Check out the link to join us in the 21-day challenge, and we can't wait to see you in there. Astrology is one of our favorite topics here at the Sisters Enchanted. We teach it as part of our Holistic Witchery bundle of courses. And today I'm going to give you an overview of the different elements that make up a natal chart or a birth chart. So as part of our astrology or our witchery foundations series here on the podcast. If the word witch makes you feel full of power and excitement, if you love personal development but loathe boring love and light conversation, if a sexy combo of witchery and inner work piques your interest, you're in the right place. Welcome home, Magic Maker, and welcome to Expedition to Soul, the podcast brought to you by the Sisters Enchanted. All right, let's talk about astrology. It's a fascinating and complex system that's been used for years and years and years to understand human nature, some folks to predict future events, provide guidance. It's really at its core the study of movements and relative positions of celestial bodies, right, as interpreted through the lens of human affairs, psychology, and the world that we all live in. It's kind of like its own language that you learn to speak. Now, we teach Western astrology here. Our teachers who wrote our program are both also pretty well versed in Vedic astrology, and that's a whole other thing. So there are different kinds of astrology. We teach Western. We do not teach whole houses. It's a question we get a lot. And yeah, so let's just give you, this is meant to give you the overview of astrology. So we're not going to go through like what everything means. And we've got blog posts and things you could look back on. And just if you listen in about the different moon energies over a year, you're going to learn about the signs too and what those mean. I like to think of astrology or the birth chart as a pie. All right, hear me out. With the crust of the pie being the zodiac signs. So in your birth chart, it's cut into 12 pieces. And yours will have a certain flavor to them, but the crust of everybody's is the same. And each piece is broken into 30-degree segments. So this is the bottom layer, the crust, right? And the signs that are built throughout here are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So all 12 of the zodiac signs. And these really represent the what kind of energy is at play. So Aries is the first house or the first pie chunk, pie piece, pie slice. And then they go on. Taurus being the second, Gemini being the third, Cancer the fourth, Leo the fifth, Virgo the sixth, and so on through the zodiac. So we have our crust. Now, the thing is, when you look at your birth chart, those crust pieces aren't identified. So that's part of what you learn in astrology. If you look at my birth chart, my first piece is Cancer. It's not Aries, but that crust that you can't see always has that Aries energy to it. And an astrologer would know that and would apply it to what they're seeing in your birth chart. If you don't know that information, then you wouldn't know, right? And that's because it's hidden at the bottom of the pie. Then we fill in the pie with the houses. Now, this is what's unique to your astrological birth chart. This represents the where things are happening for you. So that house that I just talked about, the crust, is the what. This filling is the where it's happening for you. And you have these 12 houses. The first house, and there are different representations for each. Actually, in our planner, you can find them all listed out for you, and we'll have some more details in our blog post. But everything from your identity, your communication, your home, pleasure, partnerships, transformation, career, your hidden subconscious is all in here. So depending what you have in different areas of the filling is going to tell you about where things happen for you. So for example, my sixth house, which has a lot to do with health and wellness, is filled with Sagittarius. So I have Sagittarius in there. So I've got that Sagittarius energy applied to health in my sixth house, right? That is where that is happening for me, where that Sagittarius energy is showing up. And then we have the topping of the pie, and this is the planets and the asteroids. So each of the planets have different properties to them. They have different representations, and they're the how things happen for you in astrology. So how the energies are expressed in certain places for you. So for example, the sun represents your core self and your life force. The moon is your emotions and your inner mood. Mercury is your communication style. Venus, your love and value system. Mars, your drive, your energy. Jupiter is your growth and expansion. Saturn is discipline and challenges. And Uranus, your inner rebellion. Neptune, dreams and illusions. And Pluto, transformation and power. Now, again, we'll have notes, so you don't have to memorize all this. But where those are means something for you. So for example, my Mercury, my Sun, my Venus, those are all in that Sagittarius energy. So whatever the representation of the planet is now influenced by Sagittarius, which is influenced by that sixth house, which is influenced by the underlying Virgo energy of the sixth house. And that's how we get our pie. And that's what an astrologer is looking at when they look at your birth chart, right? So they know all these nuances, and it's like a big math problem. And they can also look at what planets are, where they're placed with each other. So what's right on top of each other versus across from each other versus next to each other, right? And there's specific terms for all of that. But today, I just want you to have the overarching idea of what's at play here. So when you learn the houses, and then you learn the signs, and then you learn the planets, you're putting them all together like this layered pie. And you're putting them together also like a math problem. This plus this plus this, opposite this or conjunct this equals, and that's how they are interpreting your birth chart. So for you in our witchery fundamentals here, how can you use this? Well, one, you can look at your birth chart and just start to take notes about different things. Like if you have Venus in Pisces. What does that mean? What does Venus mean? And what does Pisces mean? And then put them together. And then you could put together the house that they're in and start to learn this information in that way. You could also look at the eighth house, for example, is one that we look at for psychic skills and tendencies, and see what you have there. Your 12th house, your subconscious, what's going on there. And we can start to understand astrology one bit at a time by learning these different puzzle pieces rather than trying to memorize everything right out of the gate. So today's episode is pretty short for you, but my overarching hope for you here in this fundamentals series is that you have a better understanding of what you're hearing about. So I'll reiterate it one more time. With an astrology birth chart, that's where all the planets were when you were born. You have the houses, which all mean something. Those have an underlying energy to them that you won't see on your birth chart. And then you have the zodiac laid out within the houses, which is where everything was when you were born. And the planets and asteroids have specific places within that as well. And my example is sixth house, and know that I have the sun there, Mercury, Venus, so on, in the sixth house in Sagittarius. And that is also loosely It has an air of Virgo underlying it. Now, I'm always going to look at the Sagittarius and not really apply the Virgo, but that applies to my information about the sixth house, right? And that's that layered part. And we put these layers together to understand what's going on in your birth chart. So now when you hear the word houses, those are the 12 pieces that a birth chart gets cut into, and they each have a representation. That's what the houses are. And then your signs, your zodiac signs, are placed among those houses. And your zodiac sign tells the energy of your house. And then your planets and your asteroids are put on top, giving you even more energy. So you put these together and you can get a beautiful, like pretty base level, but powerful understanding of your birth chart. Even if you don't know everything about astrology, even if you don't know how to read a birth chart, just some quick overlying information for you. Now go back through our blog post because you'll find information on like the new moons and full moons, which might help you to understand the zodiac signs as well. All right. This isn't meant to teach you astrology. Remember, it's meant to be like a fundamentals, foundational. What's going on? What are you reading when you look at it? Okay. And we do teach it in Holistic Witchery, which is really, you want to learn from the best of the best. Come hang out in our class and learn from our teachers. But now you got some idea about these words that you may not have heard before, or maybe you heard and were super confusing. And they might still be confusing, and that's okay. Astrology, I think, is really, well, it's one of those things you learn by doing and just starting to dive in, ask questions, and taking some notes and applying it to your own self and your own birth chart. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out for this episode. We got a couple more coming on Thursdays in this fundamentals series. And that'll be a wrap on this. All right. Until next time, I hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead. If you love the podcast, be sure to leave us a rating or a review. That helps us to get the word out about all we're doing here at the Sisters Enchanted. Thanks for being part of our community, and we'll see you in the next episode.